I'm with Ryan Tuckwood from ISR Training. Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to be talking with you today. I've followed the ISR story closely over the last couple of years, and it's a great opportunity to chat with you. Can you tell me a little bit about the ISR training philosophy?
The philosophy, well, we live by our VMV, our vision, mission, values, which I believe every company should have. Firstly, our vision is to become the #1 sales training organisation on the planet. Without any shadow of a doubt, that will happen. The mission is to change the perception of salespeople around the globe. We want to prove that you don't need to lie, bully, or manipulate to make a sale or therefore be successful in business. And the values that underpin all of that are honesty, transparency, and integrity in everything that we do. It's born out of, I guess, a frustration on my part, and I'll go into it shortly about my background, but coming into this industry, that is hard. Sales is a bit of a dirty word. There's a stigma to it. Coming into it and not enjoying it, not being very good at it, and wanting to prove that anybody can do it with the right training, and we've been able to prove that over the years.
So you touched a little bit about sales philosophy,
Yes.
Ryan. Can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you formed that sales philosophy over the years?
Where do we start? My background is actually engineering. So I'm very methodical. I like processes, I like formulas. I was a mechanical maintenance engineer for 8 years back in the UK. We've never ever been involved in business and certainly not sales. But when I fell into this world in 2010, I really struggled, and I struggled because I didn't have a process that I believed in. So the philosophy is that you go into every single interaction not to make a sale. You don't have a preconceived idea of what product or service you're hoping to push or promote. Your job is just purely to find out whether you can help the other individual sitting next to you or over the phone or via email or wherever it may be. So it's all about what we call guided discovery, truly uncovering the individual's wants, their needs through discovery questions. We say primary, secondary, tertiary level questioning. And once you uncover those wants and needs and you find out you either have a product or service that can benefit them, it's then your responsibility and your duty to actually have the ability to get your product into their hands, or alternatively, if you can't help them, it is also your responsibility to let them go or recommend somebody else.
Ryan, you just touched on some key points of difference between the sales philosophy and sales training methods of ISR and a lot of the other sales training programs out there. For someone who's looking at undertaking a sales training program, why should they choose ISR?
Great question. So what's my elevator pitch essentially for why should people choose ISR? Firstly, there's no silver bullet. There's no one size fits all, and I think that's kind of what underpins our training, is that it's fully tailored, it's fully customizable. So whether you do face-to-face training with myself, Jack, any of the other senior Swish accredited coaches, whether that be in-house or face-to-face, or you choose a digital training program, we tailor everything. So even with our digital training, you have the ability to request content specific to your product, industry, or niche, and we will make that content for you within 72 hours. So if you're fed up of the cookie cutter sales training programs that are out there, then maybe we're worth looking into.
Brian, looking, say, 12 months down the track, where do you see the ISR organisation heading?
Well, 12 months from now, well, firstly, we always focus on what we call 30, 60, 90. So prior to the investment from the Sharks, which has obviously been well publicised, we'd never had any more plans than 3 months ahead. We do now have a 3-year plan in place. We're around about a year into that 3-year plan. So another 12 months from now, we'll have a team of 24 in this office. We will dominate the Australian, New Zealand market, and we'll have just entered into the UK market as well, following closely behind into the American market from there on in.
Ryan, you just touched on working with the Sharks. Certainly Shark Tank is a hugely popular program, not only in Australia but also around the world. Can you just let us know what that experience and what you've gained from working with the Sharks has meant to ISR training?
Yeah, absolutely. So some people, depending on where you're watching this in the world, we're talking about Dragon's Den as well over in the UK, and I believe it's called Dragon's Den in New Zealand as well. So for me, the first word that comes to mind is terrifying. So it depends on who you ask, whether you ask me or my business partner, Jack. He would say invigorating, exciting. I'll say terrifying. I'm not a natural born salesperson. I'm certainly not a natural in front of the camera or somebody that likes to stand up on a stage, or I didn't. I kind of enjoy it now. So that was a terrifying experience, but the results that we've had from it have been unbelievable. I think a lot of people, they do have concerns, and I did as well, that do we actually get access to the Sharks themselves afterwards? So they give us their money, but do they have much interaction with us on a day-to-day basis? And my answer to that is absolutely they do. So we get Steve, Andrew and Glenn. I can pick up the phone, I can call them at any time, I can email them, but we also get their teams as well. And obviously they come with a bit of an entourage. The impact that those guys have had on our business, if you want it to be quantifiable, we've quadrupled in size since they come on board. So new office, new infrastructure in computers, new learner management system, so we can create world's best practice online sales training as well. The ability to take our tour national and then international, it's just accelerated our growth like we could never have imagined. So I would say hands down the best decision we ever made.
Ryan, you mentioned there the emphasis the Sharks have had on moving you, say, from being largely an offline training program and organisation to being to having more of a digital focus. Can you just expand on that a little bit for me?
Yeah, certainly. So when they came on board, they did a bit of a deep dive into our business. So what you guys would have seen on TV is that there was 12.5 minutes of me and Jack presenting or pitching the Sharks, if you will, but that was actually 2.5 hours in the tank, and then a 6-month due diligence process. When they were going through their due diligence, there was a little bit of waste in our processes that they recognised, and unscalability, if that's a word, where they can't just keep cloning me and Jack. That's not what they wanted to create. So the sole focus was on turning that digital program into world's best practice, which allows us to scale nationally and internationally. And now we've got people utilizing the online program in the UK, South Africa, New Zealand, America, and obviously here in Australia. So from the Sharks perspective, they're smart guys. They're worth a bit of money. They've done this before. They saw the digital space being the one that we could scale up in, and they obviously went, ding, ding, ding. These guys are worth investing into.
Ryan, as we can see in the background here, there's a lot of different businesses and industries that you've helped over the last few years with ISR Training. Is there any particular industry that you can't help or won't work with?
It's a common question. I like the back end of it. There's a lot of companies that we won't work with. At the moment, when we lift up the hood and we go through what we call a business diagnostic, there's certainly some unethical practices in a few organizations, and once we find that out, we decide that they're not the right sort of company for us. But what we've proved over the years is that with over 4,000 clients across 150 different industries, if you want to reduce sales cycles, increase your average transaction, or increase your conversions in general, we can certainly do it with our processes.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people watching this video being very interested about undertaking some sales training for their organisation or for their sales team. What would you recommend they do next?
Firstly, research the sales training organisations. We're not the only ones out there, and there's a lot of people that are coaches these days, so make sure they're a right fit for you. We're not naive enough to think that we can help everybody. We will do our best to do so. If they wanted to contact us individually, they certainly can. 0755316485, or just email admin@isrtraining.com.au. We will go through a complimentary business diagnostic with them, and if at the end, as I've mentioned previously, we think we can help them, we might offer our opinion. If not, we'll recommend somebody else to them.
Thanks for your time, Ryan.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Cheers.